Sim racing is the most advanced it has ever been. Wherever we look, laser-scanned tracks and robotically designed cars pop up, as well as graphics sharper than ever thought to be possible. But within this whole storm of innovation, a few things have gone missing. Something as simple as technology from 10 years ago. That's why we want to highlight the top 5 features that are missing in sim racing right here. And with that, welcome back to Overtake. When we boot up our favorite sim racing title, it is easy to forget how far technology has come. The humble beginnings of playing everything on gamepad aren't too far in the past. But today we are used to so much more. Our number one, VR, is one of those things we've grown accustomed to. While virtual reality exists in sort of a limbo between rarely used and never touched, it should be a lot more than that. If you take a sneaky look into our latest video on the PSVR 2, you can see that steps have been made to make this technology more suitable for racing games. And I mean, you should really check it out. It's great. But still, VR in sim racing is very underutilized. The reasons for that are simple. The costs are high and the resulting experience, unfortunately, doesn't always justify the price, especially in terms of performance. A lot of sim racers attest to just being quicker without their Sam Fisher goggles on.
Holy Christmas, Fisher.
But there should be room for VR improvements in sim racing. If we are honest, then a completely immersive experience in sim racing can only really be achieved with virtual reality. But first, we have to consider the problem with cost. Existing issues with motion sickness and subpar performance need to be addressed as well. As technology is ever evolving, it is most likely only a matter of time though. However, the will to improve needs to be there. Even better VR support by the manufacturers themselves, as well as by the game devs, could help to elevate sim racing to new heights, just like our number 2. Coming in at our number 2 spot is a feature many of us smartphone addicts would surely love. Imagine a world in which, through the power of data-driven analysis, you are able to have all your stats in one place. I think sim racing is missing a multi-functioning app, something like a Swiss Army knife of sorts. In my vivid imagination, an app where you could bundle in all of your lap times from different games, as well as get setups or tutorials, would be a game changer for this space. Just let the picture manifest. You search for the perfect setup for a newly added car on ACC, and suddenly, there seems to be a thumbs up, subscribe, and bell button for Overtake. What a coincidence, because the hottest news and some of the world's best sim racers have already amassed on here, thus making us the closest thing to a multi-functioning app there is. But back to my proposal. One major problem the sim racing community faces is that information is very fragmented. I mean, sure, there are communities like us, and we cover a wide variety of topics. But to really get a grip for the ins and outs of sim racing, you'll need to get your information from different sources. With something like a multi-tool sim racing app, this could be tackled. Newcomers as well as veterans of the scene would be able to find something meaningful to use it for. Imagine if we bring telemetry into the discussion. Suddenly you would have the first overarching telemetry service as well, giving racers that have multiple games in their repertoire an avenue to compare their times across multiple games. I mean, sure, a time in ACC means close to nothing to an iRacing driver, but just having it organized in one place could work wonders. Maybe it would be wiser to be a bit more realistic with our expectations. But in general, the mobile integration of users in sim racing is very poor at the moment. Almost all other gaming franchises have implemented some form of mobile interface to gather data and information, as it is a no-brainer to retain players really. Unfortunately, we aren't quite there yet, it seems. For number 3, however, we have seen glimpses of it in sim racing. For number 3, we went with something that has picked up a lot of momentum in the past months. The implementation of AI in more areas in sim racing is something that has largely been missing across all games. I mean, sure, we all know the AI that will occasionally give you a good race and is the means to the end in single player. But what if we could use the advanced robotics to create the perfect sim racer? Jokes aside, but if we could find some way to make AI some sort of virtual coach who bases feedback on lap times you achieved, for example, it could be a massive step forward. And I mean, it makes sense really. AI works with the data you input into it. If you feed it with racing data, and it notices where you struggle on a certain track, it could help you and give you tips not even a trained eye could think of. Not only in the coaching position would AI be useful, but as a virtual referee, for example, as well. We all know the hiccups the current penalty systems have, where over-the-top and non-decisions are nothing new. Adaptive AI in this department may have a better track record of rulings, more just or detailed even than what we have today. Of course, there are plausible concerns about the overuse of AI in all parts of the world really, but I wouldn't see the need to stop the use in sim racing. If we can make machine learning as large a part of a player experience as possible, I think it only adds to the overall feeling of being the best driver possible. Going from a heavy gameplay emphasis to a more fun-oriented feature we are still missing. At our number 4, we have a track creator. And a good one at that, please. And I know what you're gonna say, but in theory, everyone can create their tracks. On open source games like AC, for example. And of course, you're right, technically. As with a lot of entries in this list, creating a track is technically already possible, if you have the skills to do so. Programming and design may not fit the resume of all drivers though. If sim racing games had a way to properly design tracks within the parameters of their games, it would be massive for sure. Just in terms of interest. I think every one of us at least once looked at a Tilke track and went like, you know, I could do that better. And I bet you some of us have sought out games where it is possible to create own racing tracks. A good example of that is Racing League, of course, which is mainly centered around user-generated content. But in the end, the real player base lies with other games. Of course, as part of immersive racing culture, the thirst for real-life circuits will always be bigger than for fan-made ones. But ask the IC community. Numerous racing leagues nowadays have tracks which are community created, and oftentimes completely made up. It's just not very easy to do so. I think a big part of the player base would very much enjoy this. But as I mentioned in a video before, the gamification aspect of sim racing has very much not existed in the past years. I think it is totally possible to have a fun and occupying time in the menu while trying to emulate real life on the track itself. To stay on the point of emulating stuff on track, for our final number, we went with a huge tool for sim racers, which would most likely revolutionize the way we are able to practice. A sandbox mode, per definition, is a space where you can simulate almost any situation that may occur. In racing, this would be something like extremely worn-out tires, weather conditions, or even track conditions. While almost all games of the sim racing genre feature a solo practice mode, a sandbox mode, however, would greatly help to put you in situations that are rare, quickly and easily. I mean, imagine this. You're racing a new car and halfway through a race, rain starts to come down. You may ask yourself, how long can I no-go before pitting? Maybe this situation came up a few times while racing other vehicles, but now you're pretty much forced to make a spur-of-the-moment decision. Some would say it is exactly in these situations where good drivers are separated from the less knowledgeable. But this is precisely where sandbox mode would be a massive help. With such a tool, you would be able to fill a lobby with single-player AI and skip straight to the part where the rain starts. You don't like the outcome of how it went the first time? No problem. Just reboot it and skip straight to the part where the rain starts to come down. The more information you're able to process and the more situation you are able to experience, the more refined your driving will be. And that should be the end goal to every new feature that has been missing in sim racing so far. If you want to know what you may be missing in ACC, Champion Joe tells you some essential mistakes right here in this video. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, cheerio.